Kareem and Austin, you all okay with that?
Yeah,
I think that sounds good.
Okay.
all right. Sounds good. Then with that, we'll get going. Webinar is now broadcasting to all viewers. Fantastic. All right. Well, hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kareem Arif. I'm the chair-elect of the American Bar Association Law Student Division, which means if you all are elected and at the close of annual, my term will start as chair of the division. Along with me on the call is Austin Greathouse here, who's our executive director. And of course, I stumble over the name after I've asked you how to say it, right? Austin's fantastic. He's the one who's been emailing you all, making sure you're up to date and we're up to date, and he can continue to be that kind of resource throughout your term and for the next couple weeks at least. Vanessa over here will be standing in as our moderator for the evening. She's one of our circuit governors. And I'm going to turn it over to her and let her take us away. So Vanessa, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight on the call. Again, I am the 5th Circuit Governor here in Florida. I oversee Florida, Puerto Rico, and Georgia. Just one main ground rule for tonight. I will be asking questions. The order will be picked randomly. We ask that each candidate keep their answer to 2 minutes. If it does exceed 2 minutes, Kareem will at that point let you know. At the end of the Q&A, if there's any additional questions that maybe were not brought up or any information that anybody wishes to share, then we can go from there. But what I'd like for each of you to do, we can start with Gregory, since I think I saw you first on the call. If each of you would just introduce yourself, your school, and then just a favorite hobby of yourself.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Gregory Alston, and I'm from the University of Mississippi School of Law. I'm happy to be here tonight. Thank you for having me. I guess a favorite hobby, I really like to mountain bike and fish. So those are two of my favorite things to do, kind of outdoors, but that's who I am.
Very cool. All right. And Crystal?
Okay. Hi, I'm Crystal Araujo from the University of San Francisco. And I'm happy to be with you guys here today. I want to thank Vanessa, Kareem, and Austin for hosting us tonight on this call. And my hobby, I was a figure skater growing up, so ice skating would be my hobby.
Very cool. Awesome. All right. And lastly, David.
Hello, my name is David Points. I'm a 3L at Southern University Law Center. I guess one of my hobbies would be traveling. So thank God for you guys having the conference in San Francisco this year, because I've never been. So that'd be a great opportunity for me to meet you all and go out to San Francisco. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and just get started with the first question. We'll go ahead and I will ask David. Again, please limit your answer to 2 minutes. The first question that I have is, can you tell me about what previous leadership experience you've held within and outside of the ABA, and what do you feel qualifies you to be the SBA Vice Chair?
Well, thank you for the question. I just recently was elected our ABA representative for the Law Center, so I'll be out there as an ABA representative for the Law Center. As far as leadership roles, just to talk about some of the things that we do at the Law Center. For example, this summer we had 45 law school for a 2-week program where they learn how to be learn how to get ready, prepared for law school in high school. So in order to do that, I had to get participation from the professors, the students at the Law Center, and the parents of the high school students. So that took a lot of work and a lot of leadership. And I say leadership from the aspect that you have 45 kids there, and you have to have different professors come in at different times to teach the classes. You also have to have students come in and teach the classes. So leadership is one of those things where it's hard to get participation sometimes because we're all in school, we're all at work, but having the leadership skills will kind of get people to be actively participate in things. So with that being said, I was able to get 10 professors to help and 20 students from the Law Center to help with the program, and it went great.
Okay, very good. Okay, and Crystal, same question. I can repeat it if you like.
I got it. Thank you so much. So leadership positions that I've been in, I feel that my life is like surrounded by leadership. So one of the things that I'm involved with right now that you can read in my statement is I'm on the Community Services Commission. which shortly after this meeting, I will be taking a meeting for that. So I'm actually meeting right now through City Hall. What I do through that avenue is I've had to learn the community very well and get to know people, and then be appointed by the mayor here locally. But specifically to what qualifies me for this position, I think that I've been involved with the SBA, even though I have not had an SBA role up until this year. I've been a campaign manager on that aspect and have been involved with different diversity organizations. And at that point, I just feel that I'm ready to not only serve at my school, but I have served, for example, on the Hispanic National Bar. And that has given me the opportunity to see on a national scale, kind of not only grow my national network, but be able to meet students from other schools and see how we can come together and make differences and changes. And so that's my interest sparked in the ABA and getting a position on the ABA. And I've chosen vice chair at this point.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Gregory? Would you like for me to repeat the question?
Yes, I got it. Sorry.
It's okay.
I guess for leadership at the University of Mississippi School of Law, kind of started my first elected senator of the law school student body. And to kind of give a little background on that, our student bar association at the law school is called the Law School Student Body. It's basically the student government at the law school. So I was elected senator my 1L year and served as treasurer my 2L year, and then now being elected president of the law school student body. Student Bar Association is the position I'll be serving in this year, which I'm excited about. But I think what really qualifies me for this position goes all the way back to undergrad at Ole Miss. I was fortunate enough to be elected student body president of the entire university, and that gave me the opportunity to run for president of the Student Body President's Council of Mississippi, which is basically the board of trustees for all of Mississippi's 8 public universities. I know it's different state by state, but a lot of states have board of trustees for each university that runs all the operations for a certain university. But in Mississippi, we have one board of trustees, which is called the Institutions of Higher Learning, and they govern all the 8 public institutions. And I was, and all the presidents from all of Mississippi's public universities meet monthly to talk about what is going on at our Mississippi universities and to collaborate on what we would like to work on to benefit the students. And I was kind of the leader in that role. So I think that really qualifies me for the position, because I've had this kind of experience before, serving as a collective voice for presidents elected all across Mississippi, which is on a lot smaller scale than this. But I'm looking forward to this opportunity.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Crystal, can you tell me what kind of research that you did about the role that you're pursuing as a SBA vice chair?
Yes. Sorry. So I did, I would say, a lot of research. Originally, I wouldn't say I did all my research. So at the beginning, I did some research to understand what positions were available. And at that point, it was the delegates versus the vice chair. You can't run for both, so I had to choose one. So I put my name in the hat and figured if I'm going to put all my energy into something, this is what it's going to be. So now that we're here tonight, I've done, I got the opportunity to speak to Austin and talk to him a little bit about the role and kind of get more feedback, because one of the things that I could not find was meeting minutes and agendas. And the reason I looked for those specifically is because I want to see where we are as a student body, because that's the only way that I would be able to give back and be useful in this next coming year. So those things are private, but he was able to tell me about proposals and other things of the sort. And I've looked into all of those, and I'm very supportive of the upcoming proposals in San Francisco. And I like where we're headed and kind of like the voice that we have. I understand that we're not the policy-making body, that we voice that up to the policy-making body. But I look forward to hopefully being a part of that voice for all the student presidents in the nation.
Right. Gregory, same question.
Yeah, so I also did some research, and when I originally researched this position and saw that this is kind of a leadership role with leading these student bar association presidents and communicating with them to what they would like to see happen in the upcoming year, I felt like with prior experience, this position would be a perfect fit and something that I really enjoy doing, and I feel like I would be able to communicate well with the presidents from the universities, and that's mainly what I saw on my research. On my research while I was researching this position, is that this position is primarily focused on making sure you communicate with the presidents across the country and make sure that they know what's going on within the ABA, so they can know what's happening and voice their concerns as to what they would like to see happen. So I guess from the initial research that I did is what drew me to this position.
Okay. All right. And David?
Yes. Same question.
Yes. If any of you, I apologize if anyone needs me to repeat the questions.
Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just making sure. First, I just treated everything like a job application. First, I have to look at the qualifications, see if I meet that first. Qualifications and merit requirements, of course. You got to look at that. And then from there, I need to read and view. So I enjoy the YouTube videos you always put up. Josephine put up a nice video of what she was doing. So that helped out a lot. And of course, you got to look at the job responsibilities. So when you look at the job responsibilities, it's basically communication, as Crystal said earlier. And it's kind of, it's interaction between the SBA and the ABA. And the challenges that come with that are basically that, you got to get people on at the same time, and you try to communicate with people the best you can. And so that's pretty much the information that I got from it. And I've been receiving the emails from our circuit governors saying that, we need your information so we can interact between each other. So basically it was a communication aspect, and, just looking at the website, the ABA for law students is really good. So I looked at that, and it helped a lot. And the YouTube videos helped a lot.
Very good. Excuse me. I apologize. Okay. Gregory, can you tell me what you think the most serious issues are that are facing law students, not only in your school, but within our country, within the ABA accredited schools, and what you would like to tackle within the ABA Law Student Division?
Yeah, so first of all, like I said, I strongly believe in communication. So I think one of the first things we need to do is make sure we get all of the SBA presidents and ABA reps on board to get on things like this and to pay attention with what's going on within the ABA, so they will be more engaged. And then I think once we can develop that foundation between the ABA reps and the SBA presidents being engaged in what's going on, we can advocate for what the SBA wants to see happen in the upcoming year. I know that we have several important things coming up with the 2 resolutions that y'all all emailed us about a couple weeks ago that we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, I believe. But other than that, we have, the UBE and the loan forgiveness program that we will just have to see what the SBA presidents and the ABA reps, how they want to address that. And I'm looking forward to communicating with them about those 2 issues, because those are 2 really big issues. I think another thing is the ABA budget. We have to have a strong and balanced budget, and I'm a very strong believer in having that, because that is kind of the foundation with what we can do within the ABA. And I served as treasurer last year with the law school student body, and I think I could bring that experience to the table with that. And also, lastly, jobs. That's a big thing at our law school, is making sure that everybody has a job and encouraging our students to get out and actively search for jobs and not just wait for a job to come to you from our guidance counselor. But
Gregory, that's time, brother.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, David, same question.
I'll say this during my initial research. I think the ABA is doing a really good job. I think as far as students nowadays, the internet, social media is everything. Just going on when I got to law school, they talked about ABA.org. They never really talked about ABA for law students. There's a lot of good information on ABA for law students, especially with the Quimby information. I just found out about that this year, and it was like, wow, I need to get on that. And then the podcast I just found out, and the podcasts are really helpful. So I guess informing people of things that are not necessarily ABA.org, because we go on ABA.org, it's just a multitude of things on there. And when you go to ABA for law students, it kind of condenses things a little bit. So just informing students about the ways that you can go about obtaining some of these things, as far as Greg was talking about, he was saying that, jobs are important as well, but, there's also opportunity on ABA law for law students will really help. Because if I would have had Quimby my first year for 6 months, it would have been a lot easier. It would have been a lot more easier. So just informing people of the opportunities that are out there for them. I think the ABA is doing a great job. I think there's more visibility and more communication about what's available to students.
Okay. All right. And Crystal.
So, off the top, I just want to be honest and say that I think the biggest problem for students right now is student debt. So just like flat out student debt. I know that my local congressman, Eric Swalwell, is one of the youngest members in Congress and hopes to do something about that. So being that if I could serve on this role, I would want to connect those dots. I'm excited and happy to hear that the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program has been something that's on the agenda, something that's being pushed by the Government Affairs Group. And so I think that, as they lobby Congress and lobby state offices to start to not chop off this loan forgiveness program as budgets become harder, I think it's an important focus, I think, during this time. With that said, I definitely agree with a lot of the points that David made on the resources that we already have at the ABA, but a lot of these things, including the free membership, are like new things. And I think that continuing to promote those and get them out there to the students so that they become participants in this conversation of what is next, and to start closing that tie of communication. Because, even within my own law school, I'm going to be honest, communicating with even student groups from the SBA is hard. So communication is not something that we're going to fix tomorrow, but I think it's something that is, in this role, is the priority. And so trying to connect that, but with the resources available already, I think that there's a lot there that we could start using to kind of advertise and connect the dots between getting people to use Quimby and getting people to sign up for ABA, and then introducing them to what the law students are doing as a division, as representatives, as presidents, and as delegates, as an assembly serving into the delegates is important. The structure, understanding the structure overall.
Great. Okay.
Clarification, I guess, or an addition on those. All of those benefits are things that were just launched this last year. The website's brand new, the Quimby's brand new, and so is the podcast. Yeah. So just figure I would let you all know on that one.
Thank you. Okay. David, what do you think is the most important aspect of ABA Day, and why do you believe that it is important for law students?
ABA Day is important. Now, we've gotten kind of things from students that basically saying that, since ABA membership is free, what is the purpose now? But I think it's important to just be informed about things as far as your ABA and as far as your representation. So I think it's important, even though ABA is free right now, I think it's important for the students to be aware and to be to have knowledge about what's going on as far as the American Bar Association.
Okay. All right. And Crystal, same question.
My mic's still on. I apologize. So didn't have to turn it on again. Yeah, ABA Day is important, and just piggybacking off what Kareem said, these programs being new, I think that that's always like the first step is creating programs and things that could work, and now it's trying to figure out how to get those out. And so I think the ABA would be a day is a good opportunity to start saying, look, what we are doing, we might be giving free membership, but we're doing that because we want to show you the world of resources that are behind the doors of the ABA. There's so much there for us. And I think I've heard that a couple times today that like the website's very helpful. There's a lot of resources, but introducing people to what is the ABA is helpful. So ABA Day, I think, helps promote that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Gregory.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what Crystal and David said, I think ABA Day is great. I mean, I think it exposes students to what the ABA actually does on a daily basis with advocating for students' needs for the law student division per se. But especially for our law school at Ole Miss, I think that's great because it exposes them. It would expose them more to what's going on within the ABA. I feel like a lot of students aren't engaged with what is going on within the actual ABA, and that's something that I hope to do this upcoming year. But I think that's great on a national scale just to get students more involved with what is going on within the ABA.
Okay. Okay. I'll go ahead and read this question, and then I'll propose it to the first candidate. As you know, the Law Student Division will be presenting a restructuring plan to the Assembly at annual next month. What are your thoughts on the board restructuring, and do you support switching over to exclusively a national position? Crystal, we'll go ahead and have you address the question first.
Yes, and I still didn't turn off my mic, so sorry. I'm getting used to that mic still. Can you repeat the second part of that question? I'm sorry.
Sure. The second part was, do you support switching over to exclusively a national position?
And that's cutting out then the circuits, correct? Is that what it was?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I was looking over the proposal today, and in my opinion, just being in government in California when Jerry Brown first, I'm very close to state government, so you guys might see a lot of those connections. And my history in the state Senate that's where it comes from. But when Jerry Brown went into office, it was a red state, meaning that we were in big bad default for like over 15 years. He's been able to bring us into the green. And I think when and the way he did that, his first step, his first year was cutting out a lot of extra organizations. Sorry, I'm hearing it cut off. Hello. Okay, I'll continue. He cut out a lot of the extra organizations and the bureaucracy behind it. And that's kind of the feel that I get from the 7 plan is that right now there's a lot of bureaucracy in the way of getting a lot of good work done. And I can see that with going from a 23 board down to a 7, how communication can be more expedited, being that it's a national board and you're not meeting like weekly or nothing like that. I think it expedites getting work done more effectively, and then it helps the budget. So I do see the benefits in it. And though I don't know, like my first question was, we're cutting out circuits, I think. I don't know the extent of the structure well, other than what my research is from being an outsider. So I think being an insider, knowing the roles, it might be different, but not that much different because, again, I do believe in, saving the budget, making the budget effective for what we want to do, and at the same time being effective as a body and getting work done. And I think 23 versus 7 would allow for that to happen.
Okay, very well. Just briefly, Rashima, thank you for joining us on the call. If you want to introduce yourself, and then I don't know if you had the opportunity to hear the question, I'll go ahead and repeat it and give you an opportunity to respond. Are you familiar with the logistics as far as muting and unmuting? Oh.
You're currently muted, Rashma. There you go.
Okay.
Nope, now you're muted again.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hi, okay.
Just if you want to just introduce yourself briefly, your name, school, and just a hobby, and then I can repeat that question for you.
Okay, absolutely. So hello, my name is Reshma Kamath. I'm a Rising 3L at Northwestern University. And my hobby, I have a bunch of them, but I guess I'll say recently it's been reading a lot of books on successful people, what they do in life, and just learning from them and trying to grow. So that's my hobby recently, I guess.
Very good. Thank you. The question I presented to the three other candidates, and now to you, is as you know, the Law Student Division will be presenting a restructuring plan next month at annual. It'll be going to the Assembly. What are your thoughts on the board restructuring? And then do you support switching over to exclusively a national board?
Okay, well, so I'll answer the second part of the question first. So I don't think I would support that second part, it being national, because there's so many regional issues around the US that need to be addressed in terms of ABA and student memberships. And I think each region might have sort of a different perspective on the ABA and how it needs to run, or law students might have different concerns and needs. So I feel like making it national might sort of make it a more generic board instead of like actually understanding the concerns of students across the US. So I'm not sure if I support this, the nationalization of that. But restructuring is always a good thing. It would just depend on, I guess, if why it is done, and if it's done to voice the concerns of all the students and make it more representative, comprehensive, then yes, that would be a great idea for like the ABA to go national and restructure the board. So nationalization, I think, is only okay if it sort of supports law students across the US. And I know there are a lot of diverse ideas and opinions and in different kinds of schools. So I hope that is actually represented when it's nationalized and restructured.
Very well, thank you. And I'm sorry, I failed to tell you as well. When we asked the questions, you didn't go over the time, but the answer is limited to 2 minutes. If it does go over 2 minutes, Corinne will let you know, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Gregory, do you want to go next in regards to that question?
Yes, I was just going to say I would support the restructuring. I do think, just looking at the numbers from all the expenses with the 23-member board, that this would really help out the all student division's budget, which I think that is a priority, and I think this would definitely help us accomplish that. And then just having a more direct line of communication, so everybody is on the same page and knows what's going on. I think this would definitely establish that, and that's the same thing I said 2 weeks ago when y'all asked for our responses on this. But I would support this restructuring, and I do think that it will streamline the process and help us to have a more effective government.
Very well. Okay. And David.
I will understand the restructuring, but I would not support it because, like kind of Reshma said a little bit, even though there are 23 board members, coming down to 7, you kind of lose a little bit of your representation. So our circuit governor is Marquita Christie, and I know her personally because we go to the same school. So she's over the 13th Circuit. So I'm able to interact with her and talk to her. And if I have any problems or anything's going on, she's able to voice those for us. I think coming down to 7, it does kind of nationalize things a little bit. And I think where we are right now, granted, there are financial problems, or there may be based on that board number. But I think just representation across the board is good. And I think we're fine where we are.
Okay. All right. Crystal, your position, if selected as SBA Vice Chair, will likely involve working with the Section for Legal Education. One of the biggest issues that they've dealt with recently is the lifting of the ban on paid externships for law students. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually found that in my research, and I noticed. I have done both. I've done paid and unpaid internships, so I know what it feels like. I think that it's a good policy that they went forward with, and from my understanding, sorry, I have notes on it, but I think it's still in the pipeline, correct? Maybe not.
They're working on it. It's not definitive as of yet.
But yeah, so I heard it's in the pipeline. So, I mean, I think for me, the biggest takeaway, being that I support it being a student. I think that it's tough to do the internships not paid and then get credit. I mean, getting credit's always awesome. So if you're the lucky student that gets to get paid, but then you get kind of penalized for not having credit, I think, so I'm supportive of this initiative. But in my mind, I think what I took away from it as a candidate is just kind of how the process works, how ideas get brought onto the table. So this was some ideas that the group, the assembly, I guess the Board of Governors came together, something important, brought it up to the delegates, and the delegates were able to get that heard at the delegate level. So I think that that it just showed me the effectiveness of our group, the Board of Governors, and I'm excited to be a part of that. I think that maybe when I get there, it might already be voted on, because I'm assuming it's probably going to be voted on in San Francisco. But if not, I would continue to push it forward.
Okay, very well.
Clarifications, it will be being voted on at San Francisco. I believe you will be there when it's being voted on. If you're elected, I think you'll be at the meeting as it's getting voted on.
Great.
Okay. And Gregory?
Yeah, I would have to look into this more, but from the research that I've done from it, I mean, if students are going to have an externship where they're going to receive class credit, I think there needs to be a line from if they're going to receive credit or if they're going to receive a payment for it. And I'm all for students getting compensated for the work that they do, because a lot of law students do put in a great many of hours putting in time. But I think that it's going to have to be either one or the other. You either receive credit or you're going to receive a payment for it.
Okay. David, if you want to go ahead and answer next.
Okay, I think this is the 305-2 thing. So Josephine wrote a good article about it. I read that, and I'm kind of in a situation right now. I work at the school as a pro bono. I oversee pro bono project, but while I'm doing the pro bono, I can't get paid. Well, I'm getting paid, but I can't receive my pro bono hours because I'm not doing pro bono work if I'm getting paid. But at Southern, we have a program where you do get credit for a class, and you also get a stipend. So every semester they have a Texas legislation program where you get paid $7,500 and you get 12 credits for working at the legislation. It has worked out great so far. There have been no problems, but you have to understand that Southern is an institution where not a lot of students have money to go to school, but they also need to work at the same time. I think these are important things to do as far as later on too, as far as your job search, being able to work in the field and receive credit for that, where you have experience and you can also sustain that. So not necessarily getting paid per se by the hour, but a stipend would help as far as helping with, fees, as far as housing, books, or whatever is necessary to do the job.
Very well. Okay. And lastly, Reshma, am I saying it correctly? Okay. You're muted.
It's Reshma. And also,
Reshma.
Ray, like there's Ray of the sun. Reshma, could you also please repeat the question for me?
Sure. The question was, your position will likely, if elected, will likely involve working with this section of legal education. One of the biggest issues that have been dealt with recently is the lifting of the ban for paid externships. And what are your thoughts on it?
Okay. I think that would be a good idea. The lifting ban on paid internships is a good idea, because I think as a future attorney, you need to keep in mind that there's a lot of pro bono work that goes into being a lawyer as well. Yes, you do your work, but then there's also pro bono. So I think it's sort of preparing law students for their career as a lawyer. And at the same time, I think legal education is something that is ongoing in terms of learning and understanding What I'm doing right now is nonprofit work. It would have been an unpaid internship had not my school had this public interest funding. So I definitely think that continuing that legal education is a good idea, and lifting ban is definitely a good idea. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. David, if you could tell me what you think one of the most valuable or significant issues that the ABA Law Student Division had this year, one of the things that they came across and either advocated for or was approached this year, and why you think it was a significant or valuable issue.
Oh, sorry. I know, well, three of the things that I know, as we talked before about the pay credit debate, the uniform bar examination, that was a big issue, and the public service loan forgiveness program was a big issue for me. So it just kind of showed me that you all do care, especially with the public service loan forgiveness program, because as one of my counterparts stated before, that's a big issue with students as far as coming out of law school and having loan difficulties. So addressing those issues, I think you all did a great job as far as notifying the students that, you know, we are working towards this. And even at this point with the pay credit debate, to the point now where we've got it to San Francisco, where there's going to be a House of Delegates vote on it. And so it basically shows that, you know, if you do work within the law division, you can actually succeed and actually get to a place where you get something passed or something worked on if you work diligently enough.
Very cool. Okay. And Gregory, same question.
I honestly was going to say the same thing as David. As I said in my statement and video, I think the public service loan forgiveness program and the uniform bar exam, just pushing those things forward, I think shows a lot for our students and the power that the law student division can have in changing a policy that affects law students all across the country. So those two things definitely, I think, show that that the law student division can act when it's needed and can actually get things done. So I would say those two things definitely.
Okay. Okay. And Rishma?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that I saw were the mental health issues that you were tackling through articles and also restorative justice. I thought those are some of the key things, because as law students, sometimes we're so focused on classes and what's going on in this pressure cooker environment. I feel that we ignore the rest of it, which is our well-being. And I thought the ABA did a really good job. I don't know if it was highlighted as much, but from some of the articles I saw, some of the restorative justice techniques that you use with community circles. And yeah, I thought that was, for me as a law student, the biggest improvement that you had this past year.
Okay. All right. And Crystal?
Just a clarification, this is specifically on the law students division and what they did this past year, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm not sure, I agree with the loan forgiveness program as well as the uniform bar exam are great things that have made it to the national platform and are now being able to be advocated for by the government affairs body. I'm really interested, I think, and I'm sure there's some type of process to get a proposal on the next conference. And with that said, you know, the upcoming proposal to basically get someone to serve on the nominating committee, I think is a big deal. Being that the nominating committee is the nominees that they vet through are the nominees that end up making some of the bigger decisions on the policy that kind of we weed up through our voice, through our 3 delegates. And being that we don't have anyone on that committee that kind of has a voice, not only to speak for our issues when they're making nominations, but also come back to us as a law students division and maybe tell us, you know, this is what's going on through the nominating committee. I think it's a good connection to the actual national board, and I like that proposal. So I'm sure that proposal went through a lot of vetting through within our own organization. So I'm excited to see that at San Francisco.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Okay. And lastly, Gregory.
Oh, yeah. Didn't I answer this question already?
Did you? I apologize.
No, it's fine. I can answer it again if you want me to.
No, did I miss someone? I felt as if I missed somebody. I apologize. Okay, I apologize. Moving on to the next question. This one is going back to legal education. We can start with David. What is another area of legal education that you think deserves more attention?
For me personally, as far as legal education, I guess pro bono work is really my big thing, and kind of having to do things without getting paid. I guess that's the big issue sometimes we have as students. So with us per se, even right now, after Alton Sterling was shot and killed, at the Law Center we came together and we called the National Lawyers Guild, and we held a restorative justice class at the Law Center, and we also had a class for the people in the community of showing them how to protest. So after the shooting, there were a lot of people that wanted to protest, and there were a lot of people that wanted to do things, but they weren't aware of what to do. So at the law school, we were pretty much everybody was working and everything like that. So we had to come back up to the school and hold the program. And so pro bono work is very important to me, especially in the community I am in Baton Rouge, because there's a lot of people that don't know what to do. And here as law students, we're learning every day what to do. So giving back to the community as far as pro bono work is very important to me as far as legal education.
Very well. And Reshma, you want to answer the question as well?
Okay, so so there are a lot of issues in general with the legal profession, but with legal education, I would think I would go back to my first question, just having more representation in terms of different practice areas and even niche practices that students would like to explore more. I know there are a lot of publications and conferences and committees, but sometimes it might not represent what students really want in terms of, like it could be a social media panel, and that's like the upcoming new thing in like the law, and that might not be what's traditionally seen, but this is like the future of the law. So maybe like having it more representative, what they need, and more up to date would be great. And also just having it more accessible, because I don't think like at my school, like there might have been an ABA liaison, but we didn't even know about it. So just having like that transparency, like, yeah, there is this liaison on campus, either through word of mouth or marketing. So through, I guess, I don't know if the legal education handles this, but if people don't know that this is being offered, then there's no point in having it. So I would really, one, have it more representative, and two, just have it more accessible and more like promoted and marketed out to students at all schools, not just a certain type of school, but all students in all kinds of schools. So yeah.
Very well. Okay. And Gregory.
Yeah, one of the big things that I think is kind of unique for our law school in Mississippi is that we have different student organizations that actually conduct CLEs, continuing legal educations, with seminars with practicing attorneys, not only in the state of Mississippi, but outside the state of Mississippi. And one of those organizations that I'm involved with, we actually have 3 of those a year, and we just expanded to Memphis, Tennessee, where we hosted a CLE. And I say that because I'm a strong believer in networking and exposing our students to attorneys that they would like to practice with in the future. And I think that that's a great thing, that if a lot of law schools would get involved with the CLE seminars, that not only that their state bar puts on, but also with CLEs that student organizations can put on, it really exposes those students to attorneys in the practicing area that are obviously practicing in the same field because they're at the same CLE seminar. And I think that's a great networking opportunity, and just ways to put our students in front of more attorneys and practitioners, I think is great for any law school.
Okay. All right. And Crystal?
Yes, I think I'm going to reiterate a lot of what's been said, but I definitely agree that the connection between the law students and professionals is like much needed, and getting more practical experience, whether it's pro bono work, as someone mentioned, and then just having that interaction. I think that, lifting the ban off paid internships kind of works that in there. And I think that that's probably maybe was one of the goals that was behind that initiative. And then just with the uniform bar exam as well. And the reason I bring that up is for California specifically, our numbers were low, and it's something that I should probably look at and see how the rest of the state is doing on the bar, but just kind of how to best prepare students to be successful on the bar. And I think that some of the skills that personally I've learned when the law becomes more concrete, when you're actually in the field practicing it. It's not so theoretical. And I know that the bar exam is more hypos, but again, that's coming down to the real deal of what the legal profession requires. So just kind of connecting all the dots there is just connecting the students to legal professionals through initiatives like the lifting the paid internships ban, and then even the uniform bar exam.
Okay, great. Okay. This next question we're going to start with you, Reshma. What is an area of innovation beyond policy initiatives that you think the ABA Law Student Division should look into? Unmute.
Sure. So I think I touched upon this in my previous question, but in terms of innovation, I would say just keeping abreast with a lot of the changes that are happening in the legal field. And I brought up social media. So that would be something that, I guess the ABA Law Student Division could look into more. Just trying to represent what is happening in the legal field practically, rather than just from a student's substantive perspective. So in terms of innovation, that would be something, because how would you get Snapchat or Twitter or all these things into the legal profession, and how would that sort of build your profession in the future? Because that's what we're looking into, right? These law students will be lawyers 5-10 years down the road. So maybe that's an area of innovation. I would say social media and anything that surrounds that that bucket.
Okay. All right. Crystal?
Yes, definitely hitting on some of those points that the former candidate just mentioned. I would definitely agree. And just taking it a step further with all the new things that are in place, the free membership, the podcasts, and then the Quimby stuff. I think that finding a way to kind of market, and someone's mentioned this before, is just marketing ourselves constantly on all those social platforms, like maybe on the podcast, referencing on the bottom that Quimby's available or that free membership is available. And then maybe how we promote our membership, including these points of other things of interest that might be, the students might be interested in. So starting to tie, not only, I think we have the tools there, and now it's about bringing them together and tying them together with social media. So I think social media is a huge piece. And then just continuing to promote, have some kind of marketing strategy on how we're going to be effective using all these tools and getting the news out there. But someone might use Quimby and might not use the podcast, but letting them know that, the podcast user, that there is Quimby and vice versa, I think is just something that we can work on this year in the innovation aspect of it.
Very well. Okay. And Gregory?
I think just letting our students know that the ABA actually does have Quimby in the job portal as a part of the website to let our students know that there is jobs out there. They may be on a national scale, but it definitely is an avenue that students could use more, especially I think at our law school. And I think that that's a great starting point, just to let students know that there's free ABA membership, first of all, and then that there's ways that the ABA can help our students attain the goals that they would like to accomplish. I think we definitely just need to communicate that to our students. And I think that that's a great possible thing that can happen with this upcoming year, given the great things that have happened and the new changes that have happened this past year within the ABA to voice those to our students.
Very well. Okay. And David.
Could you ask the question one more time if you don't mind?
Sure. What I asked, excuse me, let me just go back into it. What is an area of innovation beyond policy initiatives that you think the ABA student division should look into?
Well, I'll kind of piggyback off what everybody else said is social media. And I'll say social media from this aspect of protecting your intellectual property and even protecting yourself on social media. Before I came up here, with the Republican National Convention, they went through all my social media. So you just have to make sure you're aware of your social media and your platform, because as law students, we are a representation of ourselves, the ABA and the law school that we attend. So, and also as far as in your protecting your intellectual property, in that aspect, that some people put up some great posts. And those are things that, you should probably look into as far as ABA writing competitions. And I would kind of go from there, because you have some people that write these long posts and they're just great. And you have a back and forth with people where, there's opportunities with the ABA where you can receive money and go be on a larger scale to talk about what you want to talk about instead of being just confined to your community. So I think as far as expressing yourself on social media, I think we should continue to do it, but kind of express it towards writing towards competitions on the ABA.
Great. This is an audience question. This is from Sam Alira. The question is, what ways do the candidates intend to bridge the gap between the SBA and ABA in terms of informing the student body with ABA-related information and getting students involved? Crystal, if you want to go ahead and answer first.
Yes, thank you, Sam, for tuning in and sending your question over. I would just like to say that that's a very good question. I mean, this is probably the most important part of this role, is that the communication between the ABA and the SBA presidents and representatives, that's this role. And I think, like I mentioned before, within our own law schools, we probably experience a lot of difficulty in communicating. But I think that the presence that we bring to San Francisco, the amount of networking we create, making sure that people know that we're here for them, that, I'm going to be working for you, meeting new faces, not being shy. That's going to be the first step. And then furthermore, it's going to be connecting with people. Maybe I'm not getting a response by a certain SBA president, but I know somebody in that same school that can, reach out and say, Crystal's been sending you emails, can you reach out to her with your updated information, for example? So it's going to be, I think the most important part there is networking. How can you use your already existing network? How can you continue to build it in the conference in San Francisco, and moving forward and continuing to build that within social media, other aspects, and just continuing to open the lines of communication with campuses across the country.
Okay, all right. Gregory?
Yeah, thank you, Sam, for your question. I think that's a very important question, and something that I think we can do a great job with this year. Communication is key. We have to have whoever's in this role consistently contacting the SBA presidents to make sure they know what's going on, so they can then distribute that information to the students at the law schools. And I think that just first starts with establishing a relationship with all the SBA presidents, whether that is contacting them about things that are going on and staying in touch with them, and also letting them know that they can contact whoever is in this role with anything that they may need as far as that goes from their law school. We have to develop a relationship both ways, so the SBA presidents and the students at the law schools know that we are advocating for what they would like to see happen, and they need to know that they can reach out to us whenever they need something done. So we will need to establish that relationship, so then we can have that trust and build that line of communication to effectively advocate for what our students would like to see happen.
Great. Okay. And Reshma?
Okay, so I'd like to echo the general sentiment that so far every candidate has put forth. Definitely think communication, keeping those channels open is very important, but how you do it is what I would like to add. I guess, again, social media, because our school has pages on like Facebook and LinkedIn, and they're not utilized as well. And so getting the ABA law student connected to those pages would be great. Also, yes, talking to the SBA presidents. Like I know the SBA president in my school as a friend, and now it'd be great to reconnect with them as, ABA vice chair, and doing the same, using him as a platform and going to other schools. And that would be another great way, word of mouth, I guess, because once you see that one school has implemented certain like ABA, SBA programs, then other schools would be likely to emulate that. And then tabling across schools, partnering with a lot of the school orgs, like we have like Salsa and Balsa and Apalsa. So maybe doing that, sort of going on the grassroots level, because I think right now, maybe as vice chairs, we would be up here, I think, in terms of like, the structure, and it would be really nice to know what some of the regional officers are doing, and trying to like delegate to them and talk to them and listen to what they're doing, and then get the word out through social media, through these different orgs at the school, through all the presidents, the vice presidents, and of not just like the SBA, because the SBA has a lot of power in terms of like what they do with like the student orgs and how they fund different events. So I think, getting in touch with the ABA and then going down to like all the different student orgs would be great, or reaching out to them directly if there's a way to do that. Connecting with, like our school has a lot of orgs have, again, Facebook pages, doing something with that, with like the ABA law student, that'd be great. So these are just some ideas I'm throwing out, but definitely connect and communicate is what everyone has said, and that's what I'm saying too, so.
All right, great. Okay, lastly, David.
This is just kind of right down my alley because I just got to elect the ABA representative. So the ABA does a great job. They're going to be I'll be tabling the first week of school. They'll be sitting some stuff down because I remember when I first got here, our ABA rep sit at the table. We got some nice headphones, got some nice cup holders. So just tabling. And also when I get back, just being visible. When I get back, we have our pre-orientation party program going on right now. So I'll meet in front of students. When we have orientation, I'll meet in front of the students. And also, as Crystal said before, going out to the conference and meeting people and networking can broaden your horizons as far as getting to know people and getting to know what they're doing at other places. But just being visible, it's going to take work from all of us. Because right now, even for me, I'm just going to have to stay at school. And so we have evening programs. I start school in the morning. I'll be there all day. Being visible, showing people that, okay, I'm here. We could talk about it. I can table, whatever you want to do. Even right now, I have I was allotted my budget for being the ABA rep, and I have a budget, and I have a team of 3. So not only will we be working to help the students be informed about the ABA, but also about the Louisiana Bar Association. So I think it's just having a commitment of people and being visible. It'll help a lot. But like I said, the ABA does a good job of giving you things as far as tabling and giving you information so that other people will know.
Very good. Okay, and this is the last question. Gregory will go ahead and direct that question towards you. The last question would be, if you are personally against something, but the division, meaning the law student division, takes a stand in favor of it, how would you vote?
Sorry, I was on mute. It's a very, very good question. I've always, with the leadership roles I've served in the past, definitely have advocated on behalf of a whole entire University of Ole Miss. You definitely have to look at what the students want to see happen, but you also have to stay true to your core values and what you believe in also. So saying that, First of all, as I've said several times on this call tonight, we have to find out what our SBA presidents would like to see happen in the upcoming year. Whether one of us disagrees with that is something that we're going to have to take on personally within ourselves to figure out how we need to either overcome that and go with what the students want to see happen, or see if we can work with the Student Bar Association presidents to come to a consensus on a certain issue. So as I said at the beginning, it's important that we listen to what the Student Bar Association presidents want to see happen, but we also have to go with what we believe in is right as well. So I think that can happen. I think that can meet in the middle of the road, as it has personally with me a lot of times. But I think ultimately we're in this position to advocate for what the Student Bar Association presidents and their schools would like to see happen. And that is probably the most important thing. And that it ultimately comes down to that, since we are the liaison and the representative for them.
All right. Crystal, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Sure. So the question was, if you are personally against something, but the division, meaning the law student division, takes a stand in favor of it, as a member of the board, how would you vote?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would still vote for the body that I represent. So my personal views have to be aside. I'm serving in a role. And when you serve, you got to listen to your constituency and what they want. And maybe personally, I might be on a different level, but that's not what my role is. So I would definitely be alert to what my constituents say. And that would be the student representatives and SBA presidents. So could they be different, have a different opinion than the law student, maybe a board of governors? That could be the case. So at that point, I would just present the point of conflicts there and try to find resolutions. Maybe with every legislative piece, there's always points of compromise. So I'm sure that there maybe the issue that I'm hearing from the bottom, from the students or SBA president, is something minor, or even if it is something heavy or a big piece of the legislation, I'm sure there's a point to find compromise. So I would definitely just always be a voice for the people I represent on the Board of Governors, and my personal opinions would be aside. Thank you.
Sure. David?
I would kind of echo that personal feelings are aside. If there's something that everyone has voted on and I'm still against it, I will make record and make note of that. But for the most part, personal feelings aside, and that's why you have a collection of a body to kind of fish things out between each other. I guess one person's opinion is not greater than the other person's opinion. If you come to a resolution amongst all, it kind of lets you know that, you kind of fall in line sometimes. But if there's just an issue where it's an issue that's personally affecting the people I serve, as far as the law school and the students there, then yes, I'll make note of that. But for the most part, you're there to do a job, and you're there to kind of put your personal feelings. They have to be put aside in order to do for the greater good. So I would just make note. I would definitely go with the whatever is decided amongst the group.
Very well. Okay, and lastly, Reshma.
So, of course, this is not a personal role. I would be in the capacity of the ABA Law Student Vice Chair. But at the same time, I would ask why. Why are they in favor of this position? Why? What makes it? How do they come to their decision, right? So it would really depend, as it's a very lawyerly answer. So if they give me a very logical answer, yes, this is representative. It's, you're trying to voice the concerns of all these students across the U.S. and different regions, then I would say, okay, this makes sense. I'd really listen to all the delegates. But if I feel that they're being illogical, they're not being representative, I would still stick to my stand on the issue, because I'm pretty sure as ABA Vice Chair, I would not bring personal concerns into this, and whatever stand I take, it would be in favor of the greater good of all the students. So if I feel that yes, everyone on the board is in favor of whatever issue, but I don't think it represents the students. If I have a different perspective, I'd like to voice it. So it really depends on the situation, on the issue, what the other side tells me, and there's so many concerns. So I would not easily just jump on like, I'm in favor board. So it would really depend. So after listening to everything, if it makes sense to me, and if I think that they made a very representative decision and, taking into account what all the delegates across all the law students and the SBA have, if that's what's happened, then it's fine. But if not, then I'll still stick to what I feel. So it really depends.
Very well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That does complete the question and answer session. I'll go ahead and turn it back over to our our chair-elect, Karim, to end tonight's session.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Vanessa, for moderating this evening. Thank you all. It's obvious that you put a lot of work and research and effort into your candidacy, and I'm very excited to see what you bring to annual meeting this year. I think we have some phenomenal candidates, and I'm excited to see who continues, and I'd love to see you all working with the ABA in whatever capacity, whether that's as an elected official or as a representative of your school in the next year. So I just wanted to again say thank you all for taking the time this evening to be a part of this, for being thoughtful in your responses. Thank you to Vanessa for moderating this evening. Thank you to the audience, who I think has already left us, for providing questions if they ever see this. And I will look forward to meeting you all at annual. Thank you, and have a great evening.